Hi, welcome to today's screencast. Today I'm going to highlight the TriggerMesh integration platform. For the integration platform, think of it as a mesh of all of your services, microservices, databases, all other things that may live on-prem or with your various cloud providers, and combining them into a mesh with other third-party applications that you can interact with in order to allow them to integrate and communicate seamlessly. In today's screencast, I'm actually going to be showing you the case of one bridge, and this is to replicate the example of an e-commerce platform that is interacting with an Oracle database, which will then create a change event and then will be consumed by the TriggerMesh every bridge, and then from there it'll be dispersed out to Zendesk and into the Oracle Cloud to call a cloud native function to do some translation. So right now we're looking at the TriggerMesh UI as far as our bridges and our services. If this is your first time with the TriggerMesh platform, a bridge pretty much allows us to combine sources to targets. So a source would be, in this case, could be an Oracle database change request. It could be an event coming in from Confluence. It could be a Slack message. It could be a Zendesk ticket. And then being able to provide a light translation layer so that we can route it into other targets. And in this case, we're going to be creating a Zendesk ticket in our e-commerce platform for the case where we run low on inventory. But we're also going to call into an Oracle Cloud function when someone places an order. And as we're setting up the Oracle event source, there are a couple of bits of information that would be required first. As far as the bridge goes, we need some kind of secret to be able to provide our credentials in a secure fashion. In the case for my bridge, I have my Zendesk API credentials stored as one secret. I also have a Slack target secret, which could be used for another potential place to send an event to. An Oracle source pre-shared key. This is used to integrate the Oracle event components together. And then I have my Oracle credentials to allow me to securely communicate with my function in the Oracle Cloud. From here, I do have my lone bridge, which in this case is the Oracle database source to Zendesk, but it does a lot more than that. In this case, I have my source, which is how I'm going to be receiving my events. I have a translation layer, which will take that event and split it off into two separate events, one for handling replenishment and one for handling new orders received. I have an event displayer, which will allow me to take a look at the results of that Oracle Cloud function, and then I also have my Zendesk target. You'll note also, as we start from the bottom and we work our way up, we do have a couple of triggers. These triggers provide a way of being able to let us know when to fire the events on the target as they come in. And then we also have this concept of a broker. The broker in this case acts as like a mailroom. Events come in, events go out, and it's up to the triggers to figure out which event it needs to take a look at and then know what particular event to target, or in this case it would be the target itself. So another way of thinking of this every bridge manifest, we do have our sources. In this case, we only have the Oracle database event source, which is pretty much going to be sending out all of our changes. The broker, as I mentioned before, is our mailbox. We have the translator, which is a small little Python script that will watch for those Oracle database events, and then based on the context of those events, whether it is that new order or if it's a part of that replenishment aspect, we'll produce the requisite events that then get consumed by our final targets, in this case the cloud and Zendesk. Another way of looking at this translator would be just think of it as one event comes in, we split it off into two separate events, and then we just spit that back out again. And looking at things on the Oracle database source side, I can bring in a little terminal window which shows what triggers that I do have instrumented. In this case, for that little translator script, I'm looking for an event that matches this particular URL. Or for new orders, something that would match that particular URL. And this indicates the table and the type of operation that I'm looking at for each of the associated events. And as far as the translator itself, here you can just see it is a simple Python script using Flask, creating my little cloud event. You'll note that I do have a filter to check as far as whether I'm doing a replenishment or a new order. You'll also see that I'm sending things to Zendesk versus a specific Oracle Cloud function. And I'm using this to pre-populate the message that I'm going to be sending into the cloud. And in this case or at least for the new orders, it's going to be a breakdown on who it is that ordered, how much they spent, and also when they placed the order. Whereas when it comes time to replenish, it's just a simple message indicating what we need and where to get it. As another example of a translator, if we were to use something like Zendesk, for instance, or sorry, not Zendesk, Slack, then, or if we were to use something like Slack, you can tell that we have a different type, in this case, that we are targeting Slack. And you'll also see that the message has changed a little bit as well. So that's about as much as we're going to do for the real code. So now if we're to take a look at our sample website, the e-commerce platform that we're going to be using is borrowed from the Phoenix project. In this case, our company decided to launch and rushed Project Phoenix out. For Parts Unlimited, they are an original equipment manufacturer. So here you can go for their specific racing pads, you can go for the batteries or some fuel additives. Now, with this particular application, I do have the quantity set such that I can actually order one fuel additive where I know I'm running low to begin with because it is a very popular item. And also we'll order some brake pads as well. We'll fill out our our payment information. All right, everything looks good. I'm going to submit my order, and looks like our order took. So let's take a look at the platform and see what our services have to say. So for that bridge, we have numerous services lined up. We have our translator, we have our Zendesk target, and then we have our Oracle function target. And one of the things that you'll have noticed with the bridge earlier is that the Oracle target itself also produces an event. And in this case, it gets consumed by our event displayer. So if we're to take a look at our pod, that's running the listener for the Oracle database source, you can see that we have our two update operations indicating that we have our racing pad brake, or sorry, brake pads, and also our fuel additive, and that we just made an order. And if we take a look at the event displayer, we'll note that we also just received our cloud event. We'll show that it has been processed. We have our Woodford was the person who ordered it. That's the timestamp that we placed our order. And you'll have to forgive me as I'm going through this really fast because with Knative, these are while the services remain, the pods themselves have a very short time frame. And in this case, you can see our translator working its magic as far as the fact that it is calling out the replenishment. We can see a little bit more on the product side, and we can also see, so we do see invalid sources as well. So one of the things with our translator is that it is listening to all of these events, but it is only acting on the two types of events that we are watching for. And here you can also see our call to Zendesk indicating that we did create our ticket. So let's go ahead and take a look at Zendesk as we can see that we did get our new order request, and we do have the text that matches what we'd sent. So this is an example of highlighting just the scratch of the surface of what you can do with the TriggerMesh Every Bridge and the platform. In this case, you're not bound by having to migrate all of your applications or your data into the cloud. If it's on-prem, like my database and e-commerce web application, or if it's in the Oracle Cloud, which is where both are hosted right now, it doesn't matter. And we can target things, whether it's like custom software that we wrote that is hosted in a different cloud provider, or we can target someone like Confluent, Slack, Twilio if we wanted to do SMS notifications. We can target a lot of things. I mean, the possibilities are very much endless in here. It'll allow you to bring your platform into the cloud native ecosystem at your own pace. You don't have to throw away everything that already exists that makes your business run. And from here, you can just keep building the next great thing. With that, I thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you later.